Let your imagination soar with Audible. With stories across every genre, from expert advice to fantasy, you'll be inspired to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. Listening can even lead to a positive change in your mood, habits, and overall well-being. As an Audible member, you'll get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog, including bestsellers and new releases. Allow yourself to delve into the spooky this season by listening to classics like Stephen King's The Shining and Pet Sematary. There's more to imagine when you listen. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Edit audio.
I like to say I was born and raised in corporate America. I mean, I worked for years in giant entertainment companies, and I learned very quickly to just love those paid holidays, sick days, the prorated health insurance. But I also loved my 9 to 5, my desk with pictures and inspirational quotes, and all the people stopping by my workstation to gossip and chat. So now I'm out here on my own, hustling as a freelance artist. I've done the very best I can to replicate in my home life the structural things from corporate that work for me. Like, I have a desk set up in my bedroom, and I've got some routines like a walk in the park in the morning before I start work, things that help me know when the day starts and when the day ends. But regardless of all of that, sometimes things can get kind of blurry when you're on your own. It can be hard to motivate yourself from your bedroom or your apartment, and I still struggle with that. Last week, I spent an entire day sitting at my desk, and I did absolutely nothing. Like, the whole day I sat there for 7 hours. Well, it's not 100% true. I did search Amazon, and I scrolled social media relentlessly. I really nailed those 2 things that day, but does that count as work? Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, well, when you're a freelance artist and the fear is real. Well, hello, everybody. It is absolutely lovely to have you back for another episode of Well Adjusting. I mean, now if I'm speaking for me, I'm going to say I'm feeling well. I'm feeling adjusted, generally speaking. And I am ready to jump in with today's guest, Kaylee. So, backstory. Kaylee is a kick-ass lady who finished up law school. Well done, Kaylee. Only to realize she'd much rather pursue a career in the arts as a writer and an audio producer. Wah wah. Now she's in that hustle, okay? She's dealing with all the hurdles that one's got to jump in that life. We're talking about rejection, imposter syndrome, lack of motivation, or fear driving paralysis of action. So we chat about how to find some structure, some confidence, and some grace for yourself when you are trying to make a go of it as an artist. You're going to want to hear this. Take a listen.
My name's Kaylee. I'm currently living in London, and I am a freelance writer, journalist, freelance audio producer, that sort of multi-hyphenate life of trying to find as many ways to be creative and hopefully earn money out of it.
Isn't that just the hustle is real? That is just a forever state of being for that business.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's a struggle bus every time you hear about how, oh, this publication's shutting down. This is doing a reshuffle. It's like, oh, ugh, great.
I know it's not the time for productions. Podcasting is down. You're just like, oh, please stop telling me without telling me that I may not have a job. Well, let's move on to more positive things already. Although I am going to say more positive things I'm going to ask about, like your problem, and let us know why you're here to talk to us today.
Yeah, I guess like I'm talking about struggling when you know that you can be a better creative. And I think how I struggle with it is I would see lots of opportunities out there and then I would like sort of hesitate and sort of like push and pull in terms of like applying, not applying. Maybe I'm good enough, but maybe I'm not good enough. And by the time I do decide that, okay, let's go for it, I don't actually have enough time to properly apply myself and uh, put my best self forward for the opportunity that comes up. And that sort of imposter syndrome that's quite debilitating and it's a cycle.
It is so debilitating. And I think like just to start, it doesn't ever go away. I mean, I think it's like a comfy sweater that you learn to live with and you're just like, well, there it is. But but I want to ask you like just like tell us a little bit more about it. Like how are you putting it together? Do you have like a day job right now, like one job? Or are you making money from multiple jobs? Because I want to know how impactful this is in your life.
Well, so I'm pretty early on in my career right now, so
Okay.
it's fairly like long-winded when I like describe it. Basically, I stepped away from a life. I was a law student for the longest time. I graduated and like
Oh,
qualified to be a lawyer. And then after that, I just told my parents, this isn't making me happy anymore, and I'd want to pursue
oh,
something
your
else.
parents.
Yeah. And so
I'm sorry, Kaylee's mom and dad. I'm super sorry.
could have been a lawyer, but not a lawyer anymore. And so I found a job as an administrator for a journalism publishing place, and I
Hmm.
felt like that could have been my foot in the door to sort of like, get to meet editors, get to know their podcasting team, and sort of like hopefully. Embed myself so deep into their system so that they have no choice but to speak to me and get to know me. But except that's not exactly how jobs work. And I was quite siloed into my role as an admin and very
Hmm.
much not encouraged to write. I actually applied for an internship within that organization and they immediately chucked out my application because I already worked there internally. So it was quite frustrating and like feels like
Mm.
there is this barrier that like I don't actually know how to like cross over. So on the side of my day job, I also like try to like keep those skills alive of like trying to write and trying to create podcasts and have that creative practice. But it is like feels draining because it's like I see everyone at my day job actually do the things I want to do, and I'm not doing that at my day job.
Okay. Someone walks in and says, you can have your perfect or most ideal job. Do you know what that is?
So I think it's still the multi hyphenate thing that I described in the beginning, where I would be an audio producer and a freelance writer. A
Okay.
little bit of that
Okay.
double act.
Okay. And are you still in the day job doing admin?
I like brought my hours down to a temp basis because it was taking up too
Okay.
much of my time. And I also currently have to find another way to stay in the UK because my visa status is coming up and I'm also finding other avenues to stay in the UK.
Okay. So you got a lot going on.
Yeah.
The mom and me has to ask a few questions first. Like, you're cobbling together enough income and you're like all that is like stable doing it how you're doing it right now.
For now, yes. I think like I've saved up enough money from like my day job to be able to do what I'm currently doing and feel comfortable doing that. Yeah.
Okay. I think what's coming up for me, what I'm curious about is I'm trying to like separate all the stuff to see like you got a bunch of barriers, right? You're new in your career, you're trying to figure it out and try to build experience. You also have a visa issue that you have to contend with, and then you want to be seen in a certain way and build experience. So you've got like kind of all these things there, and you need to be able to pay rent and eat and all of those things too. Maybe have some fun every once in a while. And oddly enough, those all cost. It's so weird how that happens. But so you have like a lot of things that you're contending with, right? And at the same time, I'm suggesting that that could be part of what when you walk in and your imposter syndrome is that you also are dealing with a bunch of stuff. So I do think that maybe you should give yourself, I kind of hate this phrase because it feels very like, like hippy dippy liberal, but like as I am a hippy dippy liberal, I'm going to say it like you have to give yourself a little grace because you are, in your early 20s trying to figure out a bunch of things. You've just made a hard pivot from law school to, I'm going to be a writer and an audio producer. and in a time when the industry is a little funky for both of those industries. But so I do want you to give yourself a little bit of space. Are you doing that?
Well,
Or are you putting a lot of pressure on yourself?
I'd like to think that I am giving myself some grace, but when I like talk to my friends and I do sometimes catch myself saying like, I don't think I'm trying hard enough. I don't think sort of like self-deprecating messages in my like expression of like frustration. So like something that I feel that I don't really have enough of is like published bylines, for example, because I feel like a lot of my peers and like people in that industry have like, oh my God, they've written for this publication and they done this and they've done so many things. But I also have to like realize that they've probably been working on a lot of those projects a lot more.
You were over here almost graduating from law school or graduating from law school and almost being a lawyer. So it's not like you didn't accomplish anything.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, because I think for me, it's trying to understand like how it's taken me this long to realize that like, oh, this is my actual dream. Because like in part, sometimes I feel like I kind of wish that I came to the realization that I really wanted to be a writer and like audio producer a lot earlier. But at the same time, everyone tells me it's like, you're in like your mid-20s, you're fine. And I'm like, I don't feel fine.
All kinds of time. Also, you get there when you get there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, I'm a firm believer that, you know, I'm 54, I'm not 25, and I could start a new career tomorrow if I wanted to. Like, why not?
Yeah, I have a fine arts degree and went to school to be an artist, and I own a business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no timetable other than an internal one that you're adding to yourself. So again, like, I would say go easy. Hi, friends. If you listen to this show, then you know it is never a bad thing to ask for help. And sometimes we might even need help on a cellular level. I mean, who would have thought? And that's where our friends over at Timeline come in. Timeline is a Swiss life science company that has spent 10 years doing research to bring their product MitoPure to the market. 10 years, folks, that's a commitment. Now, on this show, we often talk about what happens over the long term, and unfortunately, aging is a part of that process. So are you ready for a quick science lesson? Okay, great. Mitochondria are our cells' power generators, okay? They're a key influence in how we age. And as we get older, mitochondrial efficiency, it naturally declines. And that's where MitoPure comes in. MitoPure is clinically shown to give our cellular energy generators new power by triggering the body's natural process for removing and rebuilding damaged mitochondria. You can think of MitoPure as like little Pac-Men in your cells just chomping up the damaged mitochondria that make you feel tired, and they're going to recycle it into new healthy ones. Now, you can take MitoPure in two ways. Talking soft gels for when you're on the go and you want something super convenient, or they have a berry powder mix, which can be incorporated into breakfast. Maybe, you know, your daily yogurt, your smoothie, or if you're me, you know, a Coke Zero. So taking 2 MitoPure soft gels a day for only 2 months, it can help you feel big improvements in your cellular energy, muscle strength, and endurance. After 4 months, you'll feel yourself getting stronger and experiencing less inflammation and recovering faster after workouts. I mean, who would not want that? So Timeline has a special offer for you, my amazing listeners. Timeline is offering 10% off your first order of MitoPure. You're going to go to timeline.com/RobHop. That's TIMELINE.com/RobHop. Go get it, folks.
Now at T-Mobile, get 4 5G phones on us and 4 lines for $25 a line per month when you switch with eligible trade-ins. All on America's largest 5G network.
Minimum of 4 lines for $25 per line per month with autopay discount using debit or bank account. $5 more per line without autopay, plus taxes and fees and $10 device connection charge. Phones via 24 monthly bill credits for well-qualified customers. Contact us before canceling entire account to continue bill credits or credit stop and balance on a required finance agreement due. Bill credits end if you pay off devices early. See T-Mobile.com.
Credit Karma makes building your credit straightforward and stress-free with help from our credit builder. Sign up today at creditkarma.com and start enhancing your financial health. Credit Karma, your partner in building a brighter financial future. Credit Builder plan is serviced by Credit Karma Credit Builder and requires a line of credit and savings account provided by Cross River Bank, member FDIC.
So I want to get into a little bit of like what you started to talk about at the top, which is like you said, like an opportunity will come up, because it's like, because you can't do anything about what happened before. You are here right now, right? So the question is then, what do you want to do more of? What could you do more of? Or like, is it a question of structuring your time better? Like if you got up and wrote for a half hour in the morning, is it a question of thinking outside the box and being like, forget bylines, I'm going to start my own Substack and see if I can monetize this? Is it a question of not having the ideas, or you're paralyzed with fear? Like when you say you want to do more, what happens to you? Do you shut down? Do you not go after things? Or do you have no idea what to do? Because they're all completely different avenues of stuck.
I think it's a mixture of everything that you've just listed, I think, because sometimes there'll be like a call out and I'll be like, ooh, I think I could write something about this. And then the internal critic will be like, okay, but what would you write about? And then I'd sort of like workshop an idea, and I would be like, the internal critic would be like, oh, but that's probably not good enough. They probably would like commission this from somebody else who probably has a better idea or has like more experience writing about this. And then you get a little bit sad. It's like, oh, I wish I kind of had more experience. And then you don't go after it, and then repeats the cycle, which isn't helpful, obviously, when you're like a creative. But to me, it sounds like I'm just not doing enough. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's not just that it's not helpful. It's that that's also a really painful place to be in. Because in that whole cycle that you just described, like there was one moment of like possibility. You read something that was like, oh, we want someone to write about, the school system. And you were like, oh, that sounds cool. I could do that. And then everything that you described after that is you being mean to yourself. It's just like, that's a horrible place. So I want you to get out of it, not just because it's not helpful, but because I don't want Kaylee to have to live in that headspace. That's just not fun. And I understand that. But one of the things that's really, I think, counterintuitive to this problem is in the doing is how you silence the voice. And because, I'm always very vocal about I'm an actor and I'm a writer. And so it's just, I'm rejected 24/7. And the way they reject you is just by never calling you. And that's always like, ugh. So for like a couple of days, like you're feeling like, oh, but they probably just haven't gotten to mine yet. The deadline was at 5, so I'm still alive. It still could happen. And then by the next day, I'm showering and I'm like, this is probably not going to happen because I think it shoots on Friday. By Wednesday, you're like, nope, if no one's called me today, it's definitely not. But still, I wake up Thursday thinking, maybe? And it's the worst. It's the worst space. But in the doing all the time allows me to throw it away, to go in and focus on doing the very best work I can. And then there's nothing I can do about what they think about me. Nothing. And so I think I almost want to figure out ways to trick you, Kaylee, into short-circuiting that voice. Almost like a mantra where you're just like, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, no, it is stupid. And they'll probably pick someone else. I'm just going to write it. Then you write the thing. And then you're about to hit submit and your inner critic comes up and says, no, this sucks. And this isn't even good. And you go, yeah, I know. It's probably not good. I'm just going to send it anyway. Almost just like forcing yourself. But I'm wondering, one, how do you respond to that? Do we need to put help in place? Like, do you need an accountability partner? Like, do you need to be in a system? Like, I know I struggle with deadlines, so I created a writer's group. And having biweekly meetings forced me to have to write something every 2 weeks. So how do you often, like, you made it through, I keep harping on this, but you made it through law school. Like the school where, like, when the first year they're like, look to your left, look to your right. One of those two people won't still be sitting here at the end of this year. Like, you made it through that. So, like, what do you put in place when you need to get things done?
I think having, like, a community definitely helps. Because, like, currently I'm in the Roundhouse studio and, like, they have a bunch of people who are also kind of the same age and like same sort of level as me, where like we're all like pursuing creativity in a time where it's uncertain and scary. So that's definitely one way that's been quite helpful in trying to keep pushing. And I guess like back in law school, definitely having friends for sure helped, because it's to be honest, like I don't really remember as much of law school as I feel I should. Because even like
You blocked it out.
I feel like I kind of blacked it out, to be honest. It's just like, whoa, that was, 4 years of my life that I don't quite remember?
Yes. But Kaylee, as I'm sitting here, like you're talking about needing community, I'm thinking of like 400 different things that would help you build community. Like join a writers group, whether it be virtual or in person. Build one if you can't find one. There's this program called 100 Days of Writing, and he has an associated podcast which talk about your two worlds. It's like a 15-minute podcast, and then you're supposed to write. It's like the whole thing's supposed to be a half hour every day. The Artist Way would be an incredible book for you, which is a 12-week workbook to kind of like dive into your artistry and like claim ownership of I am an artist. And there's exercises, and that's a half hour bit of work each day. But like, I feel like the first thing I want to tell you is to put things in place. As an artist, it is lonely, it is self-driven, and there's so much rejection. And it's underpaid, and everyone wants these jobs. So it's a very difficult environment that you're saying that this is where your heart is. But if that's where your heart is, you got to do it, but you have to do it. And I want to know what you think about all that.
Because, I mean, no. I think for me, like, it does resonate that, like, yeah, it's like, oh, everyone tells you it's hard, but you got to keep going. And, like, I do agree, and I find that. But I guess, like, it's that, like, self-driven and, like, making sure to have, like, that discipline and a discipline that lasts. I think that's the thing that I sort of struggle with. But because, like, I feel like with school, it felt easier because there was an end date, if that made sense. Like, you know that you're working hard, but there is this day of like, once the final exam happens, it's sort of like, that's it. Whereas like with the creative stuff and like sort of jobs and in general, once you're out of like that academia environment, there seems to be no end date until you retire, and retirement seems to be more of a decision now than a mandated thing, given how like many people I see like work till they're in their 80s, and it's like, oh, so this could just never end.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part about this career path. But you cannot change the industry or how hard it is or the navigation of it, but you can change how you approach it. Like my day job was in corporate. And one of the things I learned about myself is I like a 9 to 5. That just is very comfortable to me. So I have replicated that in my freelance world in my bedroom. And so like on Mondays, I like to go work at the library and I get a sandwich from that deli, and I kind of keep that 9 to 5 same kind of time frame as much as possible because that works for me. So I take the structure and I put it into an unstructured world. And I think that's the very first thing you need to do. And no one's going to do that but you, Kaylee. You will have to do that. You have to find what works for you and put it in place to support the mayhem that is the industry.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like that building that sense of discipline feels difficult as well as like the having to like grow thicker skin and like sort of navigating around this industry, which is so difficult because like, especially like when I first started, I was like so sensitive to every single no. And I was like, oh my God, this is a personal affront to me.
It hurts your heart. It just hurts your heart.
Mm-hmm.
But the getting used to being rejected happens in being rejected and getting used to it.
Yeah.
It's like such a cruel thing. And I do want to say this. This is me telling on myself, like, there's days where I pull this off, what I'm saying, and then there are many days where I do not. So it's just like when you start to lose it or when you start to lose your confidence, you have to actually go, okay, like go to that one friend who will talk you up and go, come on, Kaylee, I just read your last piece. It was fabulous. Just submit, just pick an idea, like go to that one friend or that one person who pumps you back up and then write the article. Because in the doing is where your confidence is and also is where you'll get better. And that also builds confidence.
Yeah.
And it stinks. I imagine that sitting across from me right now is the worst because I'm just telling you, just do it, Kaylee. And that sucks. But I'm trying to say, I think there are a lot of ways where you can do it, learn, and get support. How much support do you have around your work and your art in your life? Like, do you have creative buddies?
A few of them, yeah. But I guess like I also kind of see them as like work friends rather than like oh, these are the people I always gravitate towards and hang out with. I think for that person, it's kind of just one person, to be honest. And I think this is something I realized as well, because like all of my friends are lawyers. Like all of the close friends that I made were back.
You're building your arts community.
Yeah, so literally all of the friends I make now in like a post-uni environment, and it's a lot harder to like maintain and like keep those friendships versus having made those friends in uni and like having that like sort of campus vibe.
Yeah. I think on that part, you might just have to be patient. You're going to pick up people in this new area. If you kind of join some groups and do some stuff. I have one friend who we were doing it weekly. We're now doing it biweekly. We call it our manifestation biweekly. And we each have a project, or like he's in the middle of a big life transition, and I'm trying to kind of set up this creative business that I hope could be the thing that sustains me financially and allows me to make the art that I want to make. So biweekly we check in, but that check-in is it's a check-in that's both like what we're doing, like project driven, like I did this week, I'm going to do this. Like, so there's commitments, but then it's also kind of like the feelings around it of like, oh, this week I'm just feeling like, oh, this is a dumb idea, or how am I ever going to get this business off the ground? And so it's a combination of those things. So I have that one friend doing that. And then I have another friend where we just meet weekly to write. We talk for 15 minutes and then we leave the cameras on, mute it, and then we sit and write. And I was behind a week on putting my Substack out. That meeting with her last week got me to put my Substack out this week. So looking at your life, who would you go to and what are you willing to set up?
So I have like one of my best friends, her name's Julia. She's also a writer and podcaster. We actually had a podcast. It's still there. We have a podcast together where we just like talk about film and TV, but like it's been in the back burner now for the both of us. But I think I quite miss that sort of like, we're going to make sure we're going to have an episode out by Wednesday. That sort of like mentality, which I haven't been in that frame of mind for a long while, because we just haven't made anything in a long while. It's also kind of funny because we're quite remote. So she's based in New York and I'm based in London. So we do have like to work around shifts of like trying to get time as well. But basically I would want to like restart doing that sort of like accountability check. Just get together and just create. I think that's sort of something I really missed in my life and want to restart as well. Because I think at some point there was that level of like balance. Because I did this on the side when I was back in law school, and like I was able to like keep up with it. But once coming out into the real world and trying to like pursue it more full time in like the many weird ways that I've tried, it just got so overwhelming that it just like shut down on itself.
Yeah.
But I think it's still in me somewhere to be able to restart that, I think.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I mean, I kind of want to see you do some journaling about what priorities, like what you want to do. Do you want to restart a podcast? Do you want to write a weekly thing? Do you want to like, I mean, I could literally list off a million different avenues for you to go down, but I don't want to jam something down your throat. I want you to design what you want to do and then start living into it. Like, you had to project manage all through school. You had to project manage like how you accomplished any goal. So your art can be project managed too. Not the ideas, but the when you put your butt in the seat can be project managed. So, I'm curious about that.
I think what's paralyzing for me now is because like I don't know how much the future stuff looks like. And like because of that, it's scary. Like literally, I don't know how long I'm allowed to stay in the UK for because of my visa, and that sort of like, oh, I should be looking for more job opportunities that should keep me here. And at the same time, I feel like, oh, I'm neglecting too much of like my writer's part, and like neglecting too much of like the project I'm meant to work on for Transmission Roundhouse, that sort of thing. And then because of like all those paralyzing things happening at the same time, I just don't do anything about it, which is very,
Yeah. You're definitely in paralysis. I'm not saying the UK thing is not an issue, because that's where you want to be and that's a life thing you've got to figure out. But I think that you're paralyzed in fear and thinking about the future, and that is going to just shut you down, and you're not going to be able to think about the future. That's why it's like, I'm like, can you journal? Can you be asking yourself questions of where do I see myself in 5 years? What job would I like to target? If I could run any podcast, it'd be this. Or if I own my own business, just ask yourself free-form questions and write about them each day so you can start to, we need to send you the Great You Plan, what used to be called the Great Robin Plan, but it's this document that I built when I was trying to change directions in my career. And I think it could be really helpful for you to kind of look at, like, what's the word of this year? It's dedication. And then what are my barriers to that? Like, where do I see myself in 5 years? What are my buckets of things that I want to work on and work toward? We're going to put this in the show notes, everybody, but we're going to send it to you, Kaylee, because it's just, you need a starting point of approaching this.
I also think it's not, I think there's like, that's like the future stuff, right? Like there's like, who am I in 5 years? What am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then there's like the day-to-day problems, which are like, well, there's no end in sight, which is kind of a bit of both. Or like, you know, should I be spending today working towards a career that keeps me in London? Or should I be spending it towards writing this thing that I wanted to write or whatever? I wonder if in the day-to-day stuff, like you could almost treat those like different classes that you had in school or something. Like
that's interesting.
Like your career is like Law 201 and your, you know, visa stuff is, I don't know anything about law. So like whatever, class B. And then
General law 201.
Podcasting stuff is class number C and number C. Geez, I'm sick. Class number, you know what I mean? And segmenting them into like little buckets and then sort of like creating it, because it's not that you don't have that structure. Like you got through fucking law school. Like you have the structure. I think that they're all like lofty things. Like you're not getting homework every day, but like if you segment your days, like I'm sure that you can get through all of the stuff that you want to do and do it. And then that sort of helps with like the timelines too. Like there's no end in sight. Like for sure, like there's no end in sight, but like there was no end in sight when you became a lawyer. Like you were going to be a lawyer forever, and that's going to be like on and on and on and on and on and on forever, until you retire. Hopefully, if that's even a thing when like we're older. But like it's the lack of deadlines. I have to create deadlines for myself for things all the time, even with like art projects. It's like, okay, I'm going to try to keep making this thing that I have an idea for up until this time, or up until it feels like this to me. And it's just like a fake deadline, but like all deadlines are fake, but they do help with like actually getting things done and feeling like there's some sort of direction in moving yourself forward.
Hey, everybody. I wanted to tell you about a new podcast that I just came across that I have fallen in love with, and it is called Unleash Your Inner Creative with Lauren LaGrasso. Okay, this is a Webby Award-winning show, and it's hosted by Lauren, who is just happens to be a multi-passionate creative who's known as a award-winning podcasting host, an executive producer, a singer, a songwriter. She's a public speaker, just also happens to be a creative coach. Like, no big deal. She's not tired at all. All right, now, what I am really digging about this show is that it's this really kind of unique blend of mental health, there's some spirituality, self-development, and we're talking about the creative process. I mean, is that not what we love? And the show takes a holistic approach to creativity. So it's going to offer you tools to love and trust and know yourself, important, so that you can claim your birthright to creativity and pursuing your dreams. It's so good, y'all. And each week on Unleash Your Inner Creative, Lauren has all kinds of guests like Julia Cameron. Hello, how many times have we heard me talk about The Artist's Way? Julia is the author. NPR's Guy Raz, Grammy Award-winning artist Chrisette Michele, and celebrity brain coach Jim Quick. They're going to help you define your relationship with fear, follow your heart's desires, and truly unleash your inner creative. Okay, so for me, obviously, my favorite episode is the one with Julia Cameron, and I highly recommend that you give it a listen. And the beauty is that new episodes of Unleash Your Inner Creative come out every Wednesday, and you can listen to it now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever good podcasts are found.
Achieving a gorgeous grin from home isn't a total mystery with Byte Clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all of your sleuthing friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Byte Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Since 2013, Bombas has donated over 100 million socks, underwear, and T-shirts to those facing homelessness. If we counted those on air, this ad would last over 1,157 days. But if we counted the time it takes to make a donation possible, it would take just a few clicks. Because every time you make a purchase, Bombas donates an item to someone who needs it.
Go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/Wondery, code WONDERY.
I do think that you've got two things. You got the logistics and then you've got the emotions. And on the emotion side, it's like even something like the Artist Way, which actually might help with both, but that's going to give you writing prompts. It's going to give you journaling. It's going to give you, questions about what you want. And it's going to it might help with both things. And sometimes clearing all that out gives you space, but just something that helps with the emotion side. And it could be that just finding a manifestation friend that you talk to weekly and just be like, I'm struggling this week. Like I feel like crap. I feel like I'm not doing enough. And just having someone who goes, yeah, but okay, so get it out. And then like, what do you want to do now? Like just having somebody to talk to about that, however that looks for you. But I think you just need a little space. And I'm going back to the earlier thing with the grace. This is it right now. Like you're just in this beginning.
I do know like all of these things. Like, yes, I am sometimes a bit hard on myself. And yes, what I'm going through is like, there are people that can relate for sure.
Lots.
But yeah, it is very much just having to like keep going.
Yeah. And like you said, you do know this. So this is just like a manifestation call with a friend, us just being like, Kaylee, you got this. If we were having this weekly, I'd be like, okay, what's one structural thing you can put in place this week just to help you start it? Because you already know this. So this is homework. What is one structural thing you can put in place and one addressing your fear thing you can put in place this week? It's Tuesday. So we'll give you till next Tuesday.
It's Wednesday. I think...
No, it's Wednesday. Thank you for that. She's like, I'm taking advice for you. You don't even know what day of the week it is.
It's Wednesday and you have till next Wednesday then.
Next Wednesday, yes.
Something that I could sort of put in place. I think, because I've been falling off the wayside of this, journaling for sure. Make sure that I get at least 15 minutes of it. Because I think this month especially, I just haven't been doing it as much as I usually do. But definitely at least one entry a day. 15 minutes a day. I think that's what I'm going to try and hold myself accountable to do.
I feel like that might be two birds, one stone. Little emotional and structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, also, this is my toxic trait, which is that like I love to research and fix things. And in my researching, I found this really cool group that I'm like, you should join. And also, I'm going to be in London in like a week for the next like 3 weeks. Maybe we go together.
Okay.
It's called Messy Collective. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Because Messy Collective is London's messiest writers collective, celebrating process for work that's on its way to perfect. And they have a daily writing prompt.
Ooh.
I mean,
that's virtual.
I don't know that I'd call this a toxic trait. I'd call that fantastic. You just found that.
I'm like, I want to go.
Yeah, it sounds
and they
fun.
look really cool.
Yeah.
Does that sound frightening to you, or does that sound fun, or somewhere in between?
I think that sounds really fun to me. Like, I genuinely love going to networking things. Like, I have friends who sort of dread it, but I always like come out of it like, oh my God, I met like this person, and like I'm now following this person on Instagram, and that sort of like I come out of networking events feeling really fun, and like Because I think I like interacting with like a lot of creative people because I didn't get to do as much of that when I was in law school. So whenever I get to do
Let's
that now, I
go.
would just like, oh my God, tell me about what you're working on. I want to hear everything.
All right, I want some audio from your meetup in London at the Messy Collective. That's all I'm saying. More than anything, Kaylee, I just want to say, just please be kind to yourself. Like, go a little easier on yourself. A little bit of structure goes a long way. You are going to be just fine. And the bonus of all of this is, let's just say 10 years from now, you're like, what was I thinking? I'm going to be a lawyer. All of these skills and things that we're talking about transfer to any industry. This is not just for artists. It's just that the rejection is particularly difficult in this industry. So like, this is a learning that's going to come with you and help you for the rest of your life. That's fantastic. So you have this. I got all the faith in the world in you.
Oh,
And I'm
thank you.
thrilled that you came to chat about this.
No, thank you so much for
too.
chatting with me about this. I found this really, really nice.
You have reached the well-adjusting expert of the day.
Hi, my name is Lauren Lagrasso. I'm an award-winning podcast host and producer of the show Unleash Your Inner Creative. I'm also a creative coach, keynote speaker, and singer-songwriter. The biggest mistake I made as a young person, and that I still contend with, it's not something that goes away, it's a daily practice, was thinking that I needed to get my worth from outside of me. Who you are is the best thing about you. And what you do and what your aspirations are, that's just what takes you on the journey. But it's all about cultivating an internal sense of self-worth, self-love, and self-trust. And I would also say from a more practical standpoint, if you're struggling with imposter syndrome or am I good enough or any of that stuff, first of all, everybody has to start somewhere. And sometimes the experts, like I'm putting that in quotes, really don't know what they're doing, okay? And sometimes the people who are sitting at the top are so bored and they've lost that passion. And so you actually have an edge over them if you've still got that flame going in your heart. Know that everybody, no matter what their status level is in the industry that you're going into, struggles with some sense of like, should I be here? And that if you can just keep chipping away and being curious about what you're going toward, you're going to get somewhere. Prove yourself right over time. Like, keep trying. I think that that's a big part of it too. You're also to know that you're going to struggle with the belief sometimes. Like, it's not a perfect path. Like, there are days when I'm like, I'm the best singer in the world. And I'm like, it's a sin that I haven't been discovered more. And then there are days when I'm like, oh, well, I was like foolish to ever even have this dream. And I think no matter where you're at in your path, that is normal. But as long as you can bring yourself back to center, like sometimes breathing, I know it sounds silly and stupid. Like when people be like, just breathe, I was like, okay, get a life. But sometimes just breathing and like remembering you have a body helps like get you out of your head and into your heart. The other thing I would say to you, and that I'm really hoping you can do, especially if you are a person who's hard on yourself, is to not rebrand your disappointments as failures. When I look back at my early life and my acting career, I realized I didn't fail. I just had no tolerance for disappointment. And so let yourself feel the disappointment. Don't revel in it, but let yourself feel it and then move through it and know you can survive that. And a disappointment is very different from a failure. The other thing I would say is we often shut the door on ourselves. So instead of asking somebody for what we want or going after the thing, we tell ourselves no first. Please do not do that. The world is going to have no problem doing that. But don't start at home, aka in yourself. Say yes to yourself and just know that the calling in your heart is there for a reason. And even if it doesn't lead you to the exact thing you think you're going to do, sometimes the dreams on the way to your dreams are even more powerful than your original intention. So go after it. I love you and I believe in you. And we need more creative people in the world. So just keep going. My final words to somebody who's young and starting out. This is making me emotional because I struggled so much with the things you're struggling with right now. And I just want you to know you are enough. Like just the fact that this call in your heart is there is enough of a reason to pursue it. We need your voice, your perspective, your creativity. Creativity is your birthright. And when you pursue it, you're also inspiring other people to know that they can go after their dreams. It will be hard at times, and you can survive.
Okay, that's it for today, folks. But before we go, I want to say so many thanks to Kaylee for sharing her story with us and for, being open to hitting that messy collective with Steph. I can't wait to hear about that, to be truthful. And thank you to Lauren LaGrasso for coming in with that expert of the day advice. You are our very own artistic fairy godmother. And if you love Lauren as much as we do, follow her at Lauren LaGrasso, or you can listen to her podcast, Unleash Your Inner Creative. It's fabulous. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original series. It's exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Our producer and editor is Maria Passingham, and our production manager is Kathleen Speckert. Thank you to the entire Edit Audio team and to you for listening. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.